Yo, what's up? Today it's time to explore the environment of enlisted high BR battles. 2 weeks ago we took a deep look into the low BR environment and we noticed that after the merge, the different BRs give us very nice and interesting, unique settings regarding how the fights are playing out, regarding strengths and weaknesses of nations, and especially regarding what strategies we can use and apply. On high BR, it's, as one would expect, the exact opposite of low BR, because whereas in low BR, strategy and a slow approach worked out wonders, on high BR, you have so many high-powered and overpowered items that speed is the most important factor. At first I'm going to give you a general overview over the high BR meta, and then we're going to dive into the distinct nations. The most important thing to understand about high BR matches is that they are severely dominated by strong or overpowered vehicles. The reason for that is you have planes that are extremely fast and have very high payloads of rockets and bombs. This means when they release their payload, they're gonna blow up everything on the ground. And they're so fast that it's almost impossible to hit them with your ground weapons, even with the especially nerfed anti-air guns. And they can easily resupply quickly within a couple of seconds and then return and bomb you again. So whereas on low BR you can ignore planes because they're either very weak, so they don't do that much damage, or they're easy to shoot down, or they're very slow. Nothing of that applies on high BR, so planes cannot be ignored. When it comes to tanks, it's even worse as an infantry player, because if you're facing an overpowered enemy tank, the tank will be easily able to shred masses of infantry with its high caliber gun, and it will also be very tanky. And if it's in the gray zone, then it's completely over because you won't be able to blow it up easily. So on high BR, vehicles, if not addressed, are completely dominating and distorting games. So you, if you want to win games, need to have a plan to deal with overpowered vehicles, because otherwise any team can just whip out its strongest vehicles and then automatically win the game and create boring games because the enemies can't deal with them. So first of all, you need to have a plan how to deal with them, and you're gonna see that half of our armies are equipped to deal with strong enemy vehicles. This is the most important part. Once you can do that, the whole high BR world is open to you to do everything you want. But this is the most important thing. Many people who complain about bad and boring games and one-sided games on high BR, I can tell, I would assume 90% of them didn't build their army in a way that they can blow up enemy tanks and enemy planes if they become too much of a problem. The infantry battles are similarly high intense, because every nation on high BR gets access to high capacity guns with high fire rates. And for many parts also good distance damage and low dispersion and low recoil. So whereas on low BR you have to choose, do you want to use the bolt actions to shoot targets in the long distance, or do you want to use SMGs, which are horrible at even medium distance, who can basically not kill on high, on low, on long range, but are okay on short range, or do you want to have machine guns which can do both but have ridiculously bad sights or bad recoil? So there's always a payoff, there's always a balance on low BR. On high BR, there's nothing like that. On high BR, everything's good, except for the Japanese, everything is good. You have weapons with, if they have full auto, basically assault rifle types, 30 bullets, usually around 30 bullets, with very high fire rates and very high damage. For machine guns, it's similar. They got more recoil, but they get even more bullets and even more ridiculous fire rates. And even the so-called rifles that normal soldiers use are basically assault rifle types, like the FGs and AVTs and M2 carbines. So there's no escaping the high fire rate bullet spam. This leads to the fact that battles are very fast and that the engagement distances are very long. So on low BR, you can approach enemies from far away, and the only thing you have to fear are snipers, which are very slow, and usually don't have good aim. But on high BR, every random player and his bots, controlled by AI, can easily shoot you down from far away, because the weapons are just so strong. So being able to flank and hide, especially hide, is very important. Because staying open, staying visible, even for 2-3 seconds, usually means you can die with a very high chance. All of this sounds very hectic, and indeed it is. And this leads to the conclusion that instead of slow strategizing, what's important on high BR is to be able to quickly make the right decision and to quickly adapt to the flow of battle. Because you won't have enough time. If you think for too long, either the enemy gains too much progress in the battle, or you're just gonna get shot while you're thinking. So you want to be like a well-trained NCO, a well-trained officer, who's quickly knowing what to do while enemies are firing bullets around your head. So this is important, and in order to get this, it's very commendable to know the maps very well. Because knowing a map very well means you will, well, have a much easier time finding the right path. Also, while you're loading and you see which map it is, it makes already sense to think about a strategy, how you're going to attack or how you're going to defend, especially what first squad you're going to take and where you're going to run to. Because the first seconds of a battle are usually the most impactful ones. If you're an attacker and you know exactly, alright, I'm spawning, for example, if you're playing Berlin and you're playing attackers on the Crawl Opera, what the best play usually is, take an APC and quickly drive on the right side into this little outside garden, or not really garden area, into this outside area where guests are sitting usually, when there's no war going on, and you quickly drive over there and flank, and you can place a nicely hidden APC 55 meters away, and then there's basically no chance of defending for the defenders, because you can call an artillery strike in the meantime, and while you're getting in, you can sweep all of the defenders' rally points, and there's no chance for the defenders anymore. Knowing stuff like that is crucial to win a game and to decide a game or give you a strong advantage. But if you have to think about a play like that, and there are many similarly good plays like that, during a fight, well, guess what? You won't have time. So preparation and knowledge and experiences pays off very much on high BR. Also, your enemies are gonna be more experienced players because obviously they play the game for longer than your average player on low BR, where all the new players are gonna be. So you're also gonna have more experienced enemies who know a thing or two about the game. And the last special thing about high BR is that you're gonna see weapons being very strong that usually aren't that strong. For example, flamethrowers. On mid BR, you get the initial flamethrower with reduced range, which can be good, but, well, you can literally outrun it by just getting farther away, and he can't hit you. And you also won't have flamethrowers combined with something like AVTs or FGs. So you can literally just run away from the flamethrower soldier and he's no threat. But on high BR, flamethrower soldiers are extremely potent, because not only can they dominate everything on short range, due to the additional range of the flamethrower, they can basically clear out a whole room, no matter how big the room is, because the range of the flamethrower is going to cover everything. They're going to spray everything, you can't run away, and even if you're further away from the flamethrower, he still has his assault rifle weapon, and he can just spray you from far away. And also you can't just easily deal with flamethrowers approaching, because once again, if you have your long-range weapon, he also has a long-range weapon that's very effective. So there's the overpowered builds for soldiers don't have weaknesses. Once again, on low BR, everything usually has a strength and a weakness. On high BR, things rarely have weaknesses, they only have strengths, and you just pick whatever you want. Yeah, so be prepared for very sweaty, high intensity battles. Though, since sweating is only rarely fun, knowing the strategies I'm going to tell you now will help you have to sweat a lot less and easily collect all of those sweat stacks, because you're going to know how to build the strongest armies possible now. Starting with the Germans, we get the most well-rounded army in the game. Reason for that is, they feature no weaknesses at all, and some very nice strengths. So, unlike the Soviets, which suffer in the tank department and don't have too good planes, or the Americans who have excellent, like best planes in the game, also but okay tanks and okay weapons, the Germans have literally no weakness, everything is good, and one thing is absolutely great, and it's the famous Tiger tanks. Most noteworthy, the Tiger II. Now, if you have the Tiger II, especially the H version, which has better armament and less weak spots than the P version, you are getting literally the most dominant vehicle in the game, even stronger than the best planes, because planes, although having lots of flexibility, have the problem of being, well, less impactful on the battlefield, because they still have to resupply every time they drop their load. But tanks can just spam bullets, can just spam shells, also bullets, and that's it for the enemy. Like, there's nothing that can have as much impact on the battlefield as a good tank, especially a tank with one of the strongest cannons in the game. Overall, I would call this the strongest cannon in the game, because despite some other tanks featuring higher calibers, most of these tanks have ridiculously long reload times. In preparation for this video, I grinded the Soviets, and I was very, very enthusiastic regarding the IS-2 tanks. And once I, well, tried them, guess what? They are horrible to play. The reload speed is a pain in the behind, and it doesn't even give you more kills. Because here's the thing, you'd rather have a 75mm cannon with normal reload time than a 120mm cannon. For those who are not sure about that, you can even try the same thing with the Japanese, who also get a tank with a low reload speed, high caliber cannon, and you literally don't get more kills. Also, relevant for that is the fact that the physics in Enlisted don't adequately calculate high caliber splash damage. So in real life, a 120mm high explosive shell would shred everything in a huge blast area. In Enlisted, it doesn't do that much more than a 75. Yeah, so it's not really worth it. So all the other nations have ups and downs. This thing doesn't have any of them. It literally has the best cannon overall. Very high caliber, very good penetration, extremely long. Look at this boy. It doesn't even fit into the screen. Yeah, I already zoomed out to the maximum, and you can't even show how long this cannon is. You can penetrate everything in the game, absolutely everything, but you can't really get penetrated back by most things in the game, and the high explosive effect is insane. So yeah, absolutely strong, amazing tank. It's also fast enough. They're lighter tanks who are actually slower. And you have, very important, 5 crew members, because losing 1 crew member doesn't cause you to lose your reload speed, because you still can have a loader. Whereas, once again, tanks with only 4 crew members usually instantly get the slower reload penalty once they lose one of their members. So if you have access to all the equipment for the Germans, you absolutely want to play the Tigers. And keep in mind, the Tiger IIs are strong upgrades over the Tiger E, not only due to the additional armament, but specifically due to the better cannon. Yeah, don't only look at the caliber, also look at the length of the cannon. This is a 43 version, this is a 36 version, so you're gonna have much better penetration, which is especially important against the Soviet tanks. Also in the near future, with the Pershings coming to the Americans, the better penetration will be very relevant there. Regarding planes, yep, this is another good point for the Germans. Don't be fooled by this last unlock. This is literally a trap, as Admiral Akbar would say, because one of the best aspects about high BR planes is that you don't have to make any compromises. You don't have to accept a plane with only machine guns and cannons. You can literally demand, oh, I want machine guns and cannons, and I want bombs or rockets, or even both. For the Soviets, you get usually both. The Americans also get both quite often. Germans not, but the Germans get instead either very good bombs or some at least good rockets. So you get literally the best planes in the game. Now here are my 3 recommendations, because knowing this, actually very impactful. First of all, the king of German, well, fighter planes, it's the Focke-Wulf 190 A8. Now what does this thing do? Very simple. It is very fast. Ironically, it's slower than the attack plane version, but it gives you everything you want in a fighter plane. It's still very fast, has an extremely good climb rate, so you can always keep the high ground in the air, making sure you see your enemy planes first and they don't see you. Even if a plane is straight behind you, if you're high enough, you can quickly start diving down to escape it. Keep in mind, if you have a very high plane, or whenever you're playing a plane, always check the speed of your plane and check the speed of the enemy planes you might expect. For example, if I have a plane that's close to 700, I know, alright, I have a good chance to outspeed, I would say, half of the enemy planes. I would actually have to check up the exact speed of the American planes. But if I have a speed of 750, alright, then I know there's basically nothing that's gonna outspeed me. So if you have a plane that's extremely fast, you don't need to do maneuvers to escape enemy fire from behind. You can just outspeed it. But if you have a plane that's not fast enough, you have to do maneuvers because you can't outspeed it. Now, for those who think, why not both? Well, it doesn't work because if you start doing maneuvers, you are obviously slowing down. So if you start doing maneuvers with a plane that's usually faster than the enemy plane behind you, you're literally going to slow you down and you lose all your advantages. So yeah, it's worth studying for example, American planes. How fast are they? Oh, I can't. I'm literally BR2 right now. Okay, let's take a look. If you look at the Americans, P-47, oh, we can't outspeed it with the fighter Focke-Wulf. And this plane, oh, we could outspeed it with the attacker, but not with the fighter. Yeah. And if we look at the Soviets, alright, what's the IL-10? Oh, very slow. And you see, this is a significant advantage. If you're playing against Soviets, you can just escape by flying away very quickly from the Soviet planes. Yeah, that too, at least with the attacker version, and the other ones are also quite slow. So yeah, this is important knowledge. Once again, as I said in the beginning, knowing the meta game, knowing your enemies as a real general in real life, you have to know as much as possible about the enemies, and you always also have to know everything about your own specifications, and then you instantly can deduce what strategies are going to work and which not. The reason why I want to play this particular Focke-Wulf as a fighter plane over the other fighter planes, it has a combination of great flying characteristics, meaning being fast and flying and climbing, while also having an okay turn rate. Keep in mind, you can't have a short turn rate while also being very fast. Also, the weaponry, extremely good. You have 4 autocannons, meaning you can shred all planes in the game easily. You can also strafe the ground effectively, though you won't create mini explosions as with 30mm rounds, but it's still enough to kill everything on the ground that you hit directly. Also very good against APCs that are quite common now. And you also have 2 additional heavy machine guns, so you cover a vast area with your spraying, and you have, also very important, enough bullets. Yeah, you have 400 bullets in your heavy machine gun, and you have almost 200, 195 autocannon ammunition per cannon. So absolutely enough to shred multiple planes with one go, and to also be able to strafe the ground. And on top of it, and this is the most important part, that you have everything regarding not only flying capabilities and shredding capabilities, you also get rockets. Yeah, you either want, in addition to that, rockets or bombs. As I already said, for high BR, your planes should have everything. Doesn't matter if it's an attacker or fighter plane, your planes should be universal planes. That's the important part. They should be universally usable planes and not only made for one role. And these 2 rockets are very strong. Very strong. I think they weigh around 45 kilograms. So the detonation effect is huge. And they're much stronger than a normal HVAR. But, well, the problem is obviously you only have 2 of them. Now, as I said in a short, if this plane had 5 of these rockets, it would be better than these 5 rockets would be better than 10 HVARs. If it had 4, there would be a debate. I think 3 rockets is weaker than 10 HVARs, but these rockets are more than twice as strong as an HVAR. They're very strong, and since doesn't even matter which one, it can even be a jumbo tank from the Allies. and the ice tanks in general too, you can easily one-shot them with your rocket hits. And since your plane isn't that big, and it looks like the rockets are wide apart, but if you just aim, if you compare this distance to how thick a tank is, you can just aim at the tank in the center and you will basically always hit the tanks. Keep in mind you're playing on high BR, so the tanks are huge too. So there's no problem hitting tanks with these rockets, unlike the American A20G, which makes it basically impossible to hit anything, because there the rockets are like twice as much apart and you literally miss everything you want to shoot. So yeah, these rockets are great. Yeah, sadly only 2, but once again, if it had more, it would be likely the best plane in the game. With only 2 rockets, it's a very good plane. Very good plane. No other high-level fighter plane features this. You can either get planes that, well, that have also similar shredding potential, but they are simply gonna lack. Obviously, you want to look here. If you look at other planes, they just lack the explosion power with rockets or bombs. So this is a clear cut. This is a clear cut for the best fighter plane for the Germans. Now, there's a sad case to be made with the Fiat, which fell very highly. It used to be the by far best plane for the Tunisian Italians, because it had great flying characteristics. By the way, this is one of the few planes that combines very fast speed with great turn rate. When I said before it's impossible, well, it is very rare. Yeah, it's very rare. It's hard to build. Some planes feature it, but usually it's not possible for planes. And this plane is great. It has one 20mm cannon, 4 heavy machine guns. By far not as good as shredding the ground, but still great at shredding the air. So shredding planes. And it has 2 bombs, but obviously two German rockets are better than 200kg bombs, and overall the characteristics are worse. So the decision is clear which fighter plane you want to play as Germans, but when it comes to attacker plane, there are actually 2 perfectly viable options. And if you want to play 3 planes, you can actually play all of them, luckily. Here's the deal. If you want to pick only one, this is by far the best decision. The Focke-Wulf 190 D12. Yes, it's all Focke-Wulf 190s. Reason for that is that was basically the best German plane model overall when it comes to reliability and performance. There were some more exotic planes that had some better characteristics that were more advanced, but this is the plane that just had the overall best performance. Now, also you could put basically anything on them. You could put couple counters, machine guns, heavy machine guns, cannons, rockets, bombs. You can make everything with these planes. Everything works out, and they are very fast. So one of the best planes designed in World War II. Now this attacker version obviously needs to give us more attacking power on the ground, and this is exactly what it does. It gives us 1 heavy bomb, so 1 500-pound bomb, 250 kilograms, and 4 little bombs. And the best thing is you can release them in 2 steps, so you can bomb twice, which is also very useful, because once you learn the skill to know when to release and when to retain, and yes, rocket retention very important, and bomb retention for the Sigma pilot, very good skill, because usually you don't need to spray all of your bombs, especially if one of them is a 250-kilogram heavy bomb, so you can just release one and then just release the others. And you can bomb either on the first attack and then on the backfly, or you just bomb one area and then you bomb 5 seconds or even 3 seconds later the area behind. So you bomb the objective first and then the area behind the objective, which usually works wonders and completely takes out everything the enemies might have. So this is great. Not many planes have this capability of releasing their bombs in 2 steps. And on top of this perfect payload, which blows up every single tank that you're gonna face as a German, even Jumbos easily die from the heavy bomb, you're gonna get additional firepower with 2 20mm autocannons and a very generously fed by 85 shells 30mm cannon. Now this thing is where it gets insane, because every fighter plane in the game would be drooling over these 3 cannons, because these 3 cannons shred all the planes. And the best thing is they're also placed in the center. So it's completely easy to aim with them. Very easy to aim with them. But you're an attacker plane. So not only have you very good payload with your bombs, but you also have an extremely good anti-air capability. And the best thing is the 30mm cannon also shreds everything on the ground, creating little explosions, making it easy to shred whole groups of enemies running around on the ground. So this is basically everything you want in a plane. If the Americans didn't have the P-47 with its 10 rockets, I would pick this as the best plane in the game. This simply has everything you want, absolutely everything you want, and insane speed on top of that. Keep in mind, you get faster once you drop your bombs. So if there's a plane behind you and you think, oh no, I have to run away, just release the bombs if you have something remotely good to bomb on the ground, and yeah, and just fly very quickly away. This is one of the planes where you know, alright, without bombs, I'm definitely gonna be faster than all of my enemies. Next to this Focke-Wulf, you also get another attacker plane that gets the take for the two best German attacker planes. And it's literally a question of taste, which one you want. Also a question of strategy. And the alternative is the Junkers 188. And this is also an absolute menace. Because this, first of all, is a huge, gigantic plane. You can see it's, yeah, extremely tall, extremely big. It features 5 seats, which is something that opens up a very unique strategy that only this plane can make in the game. And, well, you have the enormous bomb load of 6 heavy bombs. This literally gives you 1.5 tons of bombs. Yes, this is absolutely insane. Keep in mind, the game doesn't feature real bomber planes, it features only light to medium bombers, so tactical bombers, not strategic ones. So you can, well, having 6 bombs like that is already the biggest thing you can basically wish for in a game like that. Anything beyond would be stupid, since otherwise you would just start bombing the whole map and games would be stupid. So yeah, this is insane. This is up to date, the biggest bomb load you can get in the game. And you can release them in 3 steps. 3 steps means well, let's put it this way. Since every single step releases 500 kilograms of bombs, you can blow up everything. You don't even need to, whereas, for example, with the previous plane, if you have a very dangerous target, a very dangerous tank that's also hard to blow up, you may just release all the bombs in one go to make sure it dies. Here you literally do not need to release all of the bombs, because the 2 bombs you're gonna release every single time are already absolutely overpowered. Yeah, so this is just insane. I recommend heavily to always release slow. Don't release all the bombs in one area, it will be completely wasted. And if you don't know where to release them, after the first release, just wait for 1 or 2 seconds and release them afterwards, so you increase the spray of the bombs to cover a bigger area with your explosions. Absolutely insane. It is also fast enough for a very heavy plane. Most planes on low BR barely reach the speed while being fighters. Yeah, so it's not fast, but it's also it's at least a little bit fast enough. Climb rate though is very bad, and turn rate is also bad, which makes sense because it's a very heavy plane. Now, what does this plane have in terms of shredding power? Well, not a single gun that you can actually control. All these guns that you see are controlled by AI. So you sadly cannot currently, at least not in the game, use them consciously, which is bad. But, well, this is why you have your additional 4 crew members next to your pilot, and they are manning these additional weapons. One of them a 20mm cannon, 1 heavy machine gun, and 2 normal machine guns. Now here's how it goes. This is the big secret in how to use this plane, because most people don't know it and it takes a while to actually figure it out yourself. If you see an enemy plane, if it's in front of you, what you want to do is you want to fly as calmly as possible and let this machine gunner with the machine gun that you see here shoot at it, and you just fly very calm. And he's gonna miss his first shots usually, but you see where the shots are flying to. And usually he shoots in a salvo of like 10 shots, and you see the line of shots, and if you see the shots are too low, just aim your plane a bit higher and he's gonna hit. And same thing goes for if he aims too far left or too far right and so on. So this is quite easy. If there's an enemy plane behind you, it's like throwing dice. I would say half of the time you survive, and the enemy plane dies quickly, and the other time you die and without anything. Because here's the thing, the enemies usually have an advantage when it comes to shooting first. And if they shoot first and get a good angle at you, and the good angle is from the sides, you can't really shoot back in time and you're gonna die quickly. Also, when you lose one wing or the tail, it's basically over. So yeah, same thing goes for if you get shot from behind. You want to fly as calmly as possible, so your machine gunners on the under the cockpit or above the cockpit have as high as possible chance to hit the target. Also keep in mind, you absolutely want all of your machine gunners to have the enemy detection distance increased, so they start shooting earlier at the enemies. Very important skill, not only for your pilot, also for your tail gunners, and also the peripheral vision view, which I covered in the perk video, where you see which perks to give your pilots, because this is gonna make sure that your machine gunner assistants actually shoot the enemy planes early enough. If they start shooting too late, obviously it's bad. So yeah, this plane is actually complicated to use. You absolutely want to unlock all of the machine gunners, perk them properly, and fly the plane properly. If you do all of this right, this becomes a little castle in the air that's very hard to kill, but it will easily kill all of the enemy planes that don't approach it properly. This, by the way, also the reason why you hear very divergent statements regarding how this plane performs. Some people complain it always gets shot down and the tail gunners never do anything, and other people say, oh, they're basically immortal, they win every dogfight and so on. Yes, it's literally about how skillful you use it. It's a little bit boring because you can't shoot the guns yourself. So flying basically consists of getting a good angle at approach, getting good coordination with your team, and then dropping the bombs right. You don't have the active shooting part yourself, though if you're not a too good pilot, this is already more than enough. Because also being good at shooting targets while bombing or rocketing at the same time is actually quite hard, so this can be much better first high tier plane. Don't be fooled, this is battle rating 4, but it's absolutely at power level 5. And here comes but this, by the way, for those who wonder, wait, aren't 6 heavy bombs better than what we saw in the other plane? Well, since you can't actively hunt for enemy planes, you're missing out. Well, theoretically you can, but only indirectly, and yes, like your AI machine gunners won't be as deadly as you would be if you're a good pilot. So this is the first disadvantage. You can't actively hunt enemy planes. And this is very problematic because you're playing against Americans. So if you're playing against Americans and they have their already 2 HWA planes, one with the P-47 with 10 rockets, and then the new fighter plane with 8 HWA rockets, you absolutely have to clear the sky. And you can't do this with this plane. So if you want to have constant control over the skies, the Focke-Wulf is better than this plane. This plane though is better if you know you're gonna make sure the skies are gonna be under control. Yeah, then this plane is better because it has an extreme destruction effect. And now comes the secret sauce why this plane is so great. Here's the deal. Some people like to use paratrooper soldiers. They are squads made out of 6 soldiers, and you call them in. You can either manually spawn on the ground, as with every squad, or if you activate the check mark in the beginning when you use them, or you can paradrop from the air, which got nerfed, and now it's much slower, and the drop is also slower, and the AI releases or opens the parachute earlier now, so they're dropping quite slowly or quite late, and this is a problem because yeah, the overall procedure is quite slow. But what if you instead use this as a paratrooper squad? Because this is the big secret that people don't get, because most people can't think out of the box. It doesn't really matter if I have 6 or 5 soldiers. Also, you can equip these soldiers as you want. For example, I have them with the... Well, this is how they would be equipped. I have them with Kirali, this is the strongest weapon they can get from the normal tech tree, which features, well, quite good mid-distance SMG damage and a very good fire rate and also quite a good magazine size, so yeah. And as the secondary, the Stalingrad German PPSH captured version. You can't get this anymore from the tech tree, but well, in that case, just give them an MP40 or give them a second Kirali. Doesn't matter that much. So we already have good firepower. Doesn't matter that much if we get something from the crate. Also, getting stuff from the crate with this vast spread that the paratroopers have after the nerf, also very problematic. Sometimes takes 10 to 15 seconds, which is the time you don't have. But you can equip these pilots the way you want. You can give them anti-tank mines, grenades, and so on. So they're already good fighters by themselves. So you don't really need the paratrooper crate. Now, with your Junkers 188, you can use it perfectly as a paratrooper plane. And you can control the speed of how quickly the paratroopers get on the ground. And this is insanely much better than the normal paratrooper concept in Enlisted. So yeah, this is the best paratrooper squad in the game. And on top of all of this, you get 6 heavy bombs. This is the best way to play paratroopers in the game. And I'm really surprised why people don't get it, or why people haven't. I literally never saw anyone trying this out so far, and I've seen many players in my life so far playing this game. You just spawn in, you drop your bombs, and then, well, you just drop your first bombs, then you turn around, drop your last bombs, and then you tilt your nose of the plane upwards, so you have an upwards drift when you jump out, making sure that you won't die, making sure you have enough time to open your parachute and land safely. And then you just jump out and you get slowly on the ground. And if you do this with a little bit of practice, you will be able to very precisely get on the point where you actually want to land. Which, after the nerf, you also cannot do with the normal paratrooper squads anymore, because they were nerfed to have to spray, or to have a huge spread in a long line of like 100 meters. So you're guaranteed for most of your squad to miss the point. Here, you can actually get all of them on the objective after clearing the objective out with a huge amount of heavy bombs. So yeah, use the strategy, it's absolutely insanely effective. And the only reason why this plane isn't a slam dunk for best German attacker plane, yeah, simply the fact that this plane is just so insanely overpowered. Once again, insanely good flying stats, also good bomb load, and the best, basically one of the best shredding potentials out of all planes in the game with its multiple autocannons. After wanking so much and so long on the German planes, well, the German tanks are much easier and much more straightforward. If you want to have the strongest German plane, you just take the King Tiger, obvious, I already explained it. Best cannon, best armament, basically no weaknesses except for the upper parts that you can see, especially these exposed areas. You can easily shred them with 20mm cannons if you hit exactly from the top, or you just throw a Molotov on this area and it's gonna start to burn the engine. But yeah, besides that, barely any weaknesses. I was surprised to see that it can even tank 80mm shots. Well, if you land an 80mm shot into the tracks, you literally only destroy this frontal part. You don't even penetrate, so deeper into the tank. So yes, this thing is an absolute menace. Absolutely insanely strong. And of course, Gaijin forces you to first get the normal Tiger, and then the Tiger 2, but only the weaker version. After that, you get the stronger version with 85 additional frontal armament. And no weak spots in the front part. So yeah, it's worth it to get this, though I would make sure if you're unsure what to grind, the jump from the other tanks to the Tiger E is significant. Though there's an argument to be made for Panther G, because Panther G actually has better anti-tank penetration than the Tiger E. This cannon actually penetrates better, and you can find a weak spot in the center front of the jumbo armor to penetrate it. And I don't talk about the machine gun nest that everyone knows. No, it's the central lower part of the jumbo that you can one-shot with this thing. You cannot do it with the Tiger. Well, you obviously can do it with this Tiger, but yeah, this is once again the strongest cannon for the Germans. and the overall best cannon in the game. So yeah, so if you're unsure, make sure you get the Penta G for high BR. Penta A is, yeah, too weak overall. Penta G is really worth it with the additionally improved armor, and especially the how the frontal part is designed, featuring less weak spots. And then I would make sure to get some good other equipment or good planes. But if you grind higher, well, Tiger E is worth it. And if you already have the Tiger, well, then I would definitely make sure to get the strong plane. It's not that important to get the Tiger 2s if you don't have the really good planes unlocked. So obviously this one and this one. But if you started grinding so high and reach the last levels, yeah, then the jump from Tiger 2P to Tiger 2H is absolutely worth it. But keep in mind, it's a lot of grind. Yes, Gaijin lets you do a lot of work for it. Now for the vehicles, it's straightforward. We have the 2 or 3 best planes. We have the by far best tank in Tiger 2H. Now we come to the APCs. Well, obviously you want APCs for high BR. As important on high BR as in low BR. Arguably even more important, because speed, as already said, is the most important thing about high BR games. And these are literally the fastest things you can get in the game. I'm not talking about the speed they're driving at, though this is also quite fast. No, it's about the mobility they give you. The mobility in the beginning of the games, and the mobility during games, jumping from objective to objective, being able to quickly change the strategy and adapt your strategy to the enemy's strategies if the enemy is overwhelming you. Yeah, like these APCs is absolutely important, absolutely crucial to use in your armies. Also keep in mind, the Germans usually have higher cannon crews than, for example, the Soviets. The Soviets only get 4 soldiers in their best tanks. The Germans get 5. This is also a good argument for your tank crews to be used as assault squads. Once again, you can also give them all the good SMGs you want, either standard Kirali or the German PPSH, if you have it from before the merge, and also give them random access, so if you leave your tank you can quickly get to the action. And then random anti-tank mines are useful, since you usually will be fighting against tanks if the enemy tank blew you up or damaged your tank, and then you can just quickly get to the enemy tank, drop a mine, and make sure the enemy dies. Keep in mind you also have multiple soldiers. You could also give them TNT packs to make sure you kill tanks, though I'd rather, if I already have a mine, give them a grenade to be more effective against enemy infantry. Also, I recommend, as I said in my perk video, name your soldiers after their skills. I did it also for my Americans. And I instantly know this is specialized for loading, repairing, or like loading, gunnering, and driving. And when you, during a fight, leave your tank to repair, you can instantly switch if you know, alright, the game gave me a gunner, extinguisher, repairer, well, or the game gave you the driver, loader, extinguisher, meaning these are the perks he has. Alright, I need to switch to the loader repairer because he's going to be better at repairing, meaning he's faster at repairing. Or if the tank is burning and you have this dude, you know, alright, I have to switch to someone with the extinguisher perks to be faster at extinguishing. This is very important to know. And it's also important to know if your tank crew gets killed partially, to see which of your soldiers are alive with which perks they have. Yeah, this is making tank combat much more comfortable and makes you much more effective. Also makes the combat warfare realistic, because in real war the tank crew knows exactly who can do what. But I doubt that a normal enlisted player knows his soldiers that well by name to know whether Sergei is the good driver, or Konstantin is the good driver, or Yaroslav is the good driver. Yeah, so I don't know. I can only deduce because I put them in the right place. But yeah, I can't see it. I don't know it within the game. So yeah, this is quite useful to know. Well, in the APC it's much easier. You only have your driver. Make sure you give him perfect perks, because it would be a shame if he doesn't get 16 for vitality, and if he doesn't get 20 to give him the good combination of all driving perks and an additional fast aiming perk, since you will give him full auto weapon, and then also all of the vertical recoil reduction, so you can spray well. Yes, this squad is very important. In general, on high BR, you want to, for the Germans, have a Panzerfaust soldier in every squad, because this is the best anti-tank weapon in the game. It kills everything. It even one-shots King Tigers. It even one-shots the strong King Tiger easily from the side. Like, you don't even have to aim. It's so easy. If you shoot from the side into the turret, the tank is dead. If you shoot it into the hull, you need 2 or 3 shots, but it still dies. Yeah, like, this thing is absolutely strong. And this isn't even the best iteration. There's still the Panzerfaust 150 that's going to be even better. But yeah, you want to have them. You also want to have two radio men in your army to make sure to always be able to call artillery strikes while remembering which squad has which. With all of these additional slots, I have exactly 3 radio men. Keep in mind, you don't need too many, since they are literally only useful for the one moment you can call a strike, and then for the next 4 minutes they're useless. So yeah, you want to optimize the distribution. I have an anti-tank gunner in every squad except for this, because it wasn't possible. The Germans are one of the few nations who have good high-tier snipers. Now, the Soviets basically don't. The Japanese also don't, but they get the great they get the scoped machine gun, which is also good enough on high BI as a sniper rifle. Their own sniper rifles aren't that good, but the Germans are the nation with the best sniper rifles and best sniper soldiers in the game. Which is ironic, because in real life they were overall the nation with the least emphasis on sniping. So, yeah, like, don't confuse it though with using scopes. The German army used scopes quite a lot, but they used the 1.5 scopes for mid-range, which weren't sniping scopes. They were just better normal riflemen scopes, if you want to call it that way. So yes, what makes German snipers so great? Very simple. You get the overall best sniper weapon in the game, the FG42-2 with the scope. Some people do the mistake of taking off the scope by doing this here. Oh, I can't even do it now. Yeah. But keep in mind, this is also bugged. Many people who took off the scopes couldn't put them on back, and then waited for months not being able to snipe with their sniper rifles. Yes, so yeah, it's a bit dangerous. Here's the deal. If you take off the scope from your sniper rifle, you literally have to use it on mid and short range, but then you have a bad assaulter soldier, because you can't get vitality. So why the hell would you do that? It doesn't make much sense. Yes, it doesn't make much sense. You want to use the long distance capabilities to your advantage. And my recommendation is, for the German snipers, have them have the FG42, and then you start the game with this weapon. You don't even need to put it on full auto, because it's very fun to use it on full auto, but on semi-auto this weapon is at its best, because 20 bullets with a good 4 times scope and good damage and fast fire rate, yeah, like, you can spray down a whole squad easily. Most soldiers will be injured, not dead, but yep, you can just injure a whole squad, and then once everyone is down, you just start sniping them with a second bullet and everyone dies. So yeah, this is good, also good for scouting. And if you get closer to, or if you see a group of enemies, just quickly switch to a secondary, either Sniper MKB or Sniper STG. The Sniper STG is the advanced version, with a little bit better characteristics, though it may be very subjective, but I personally love to use and see through the Sniper MKB scope. It's my overall favorite weapon in the game. And this is the reason why I don't play the Sniper STG. I play the Sniper MKB. Yes, this is literally the reason. But yeah, if you want to power play, there's an argument for the Sniper STG to be overall better. But you don't even need to necessarily grind for it and unlock all of the yeah, you don't need to grind for it. You can just grind for the FG42 sniper version and then Sniper MKB, and you already have the best sniper capabilities for Germany. Once again, this combination is absolutely dead. You can do this. Also the only semi-auto sniper rifle in the game that I would recommend, because bolt actions are usually better because they actually kill, whereas semi-auto sniper rifles have strongly reduce damage relative to bolt actions, so you can't properly snipe with them. And having to use 2 shots is bad because you can't snipe and then change your position and snipe again and reliably kill soldiers one by one. No, if you are forced to spend 2 bullets, it just increases the risk of you not be able to survive for long enough to make the sniping situation worthwhile. But the FG42 is still worth it because you simply have so many bullets that you can just kill a whole squad with the 20 bullets without any problem. And once again, if you only use this weapon, it's also feasible. Just use only this weapon and then put it on full auto. What you can do is, if you play 2 sniper FG42 sniper versions, just put one on semi-auto and put a second on full auto, and then you can quickly switch between the battles, or within the battle between the 2 weapons, depending on which enemies you see or how close you get to the enemies. This also works, but well, for that purpose I play the sniper MKB because it is already in full auto, and it's overall better on short range because the recoil is actually more controllable than the recoil of the FG42, because not only does it have higher vertical recoil, it also has a higher fire rate, and this combines to some extremely high recoil. Keep in mind, if you look through a scope, the recoil that you see is much higher than if you don't use a scope, so it's much harder to control the recoil. And of course, give your soldiers the maximum recoil reduction perks. So besides these 2 specialties of basically always having Panzerfaust in your squads, but also having snipers, which other nations aren't that good in on high BR, what else is useful for Germany? Well, it's obviously a Flamethrower Squad, which is good for, by the way, every single nation on high BR, simply because the advanced flamethrower with the long range is just insanely good. It's just so insanely good, you always want to have them. I tried out a combination of 1 long range and 1 short range with additional fuel, obviously, for the short range one. With the theory that, well, you attack with the long range first, and once you switch to the next one, you're already close enough, and then the additional fuel is more useful. In theory, it's perfect, but in practical situations, the plan doesn't work out, and your first flamethrower flame soldier gets killed, and then you have your second one who is, well, not close enough and also gets killed. So, yeah, I'd rather have the best flamethrower and all of them equipped. Also, Flamethrower Squad's very good. They can have an engineer and a radio man, which very few squads can actually feasibly put in, and also have an anti-tank gunner. So this is a multi-purpose squad with extremely high firepower. Same thing goes for machine gunners. You also want a machine gunner squad for the Germans because, again, an extremely strong multi-purpose squad. It has engineers, radio man, and anti-tank gunner. And, well, what about the machine guns themselves? Obviously, you get the heavy machine guns, and the Germans can build the second best heavy machine gun in the game. The Soviets have the overall best machine gun in the game. Currently, sadly, the Germans don't have a 100 bullet machine gun. It seems to be that almost everyone is getting them by now, except for the Germans and the Japanese. The Japanese don't get anything good, obviously, from Gaijin, but yeah, the Germans should have them, especially since in real life they used 150 bullet belt-fed machine guns. Obviously, no one would use a 50 bullet magazine for the MG42 that had 1000 shot per minute cadence. Yes, but right now you don't sadly get the 100 or 150 bullet versions. But here's the strategy how I would play the machine gunners. You obviously want to have one, obviously you want to dual wield them, because machine guns with their long reload times are not good for additional ammo pouches, because the ammo pouches give you in theory more ammo, but in real games you just die while you're reloading. So how much additional ammo did you get? Exactly 0. So this is a stupid idea. The good idea is to have a second weapon that you can switch quickly to, and then you, instead of having your normal magazine and then you die while reloading, you get your normal magazine and then you switch to the next weapon and get, oh, 75 new bullets, wonderful. Now, why would I play them this way? Very simple. MG42 is the definitely best German machine gun you have, simply because it has quite the perfect fire rate and quite the good firing characteristics. Now, I recommend everyone to when using these machine guns, quickly get on the ground and mount your weapon and then spray with basically zero recoil. But very often you won't be able to do that. So what you want to do instead is to use it like an SMG. Problem with that is though, machine guns have ridiculous recoil. And if you're holding breath, you're gonna quickly run out of breath because these morphos are heavy and the fire rate is very high. So if we instead would use the MG15 as our primary weapon, we would run into the problem of, well, we're engaging our enemies first and we have this thing and it has an insane, absolutely insane fire rate. Keep in mind this thing was made for planes and against planes, but not for infantry. Also made for vehicles. It wasn't made for humans to, normal infantry to use, because this fire rate is simply not feasible for infantry. And yes, you can't properly control it. If you're not perfectly mounted with this weapon, if you just hold it in your hand, you will miss your shots. And you also quickly run out of ammo. It doesn't really work on long distance, but the machine gun 42 actually works on long distance without being mounted during a surprise battle. So this thing is just simply the overall best machine gun that you can use for most situations. It gives you the biggest safety of actually be effective, whereas this weapon, although having superior stats, overall is just too risky for many situations. But whenever you see, alright, you kill the first soldiers that saw you, and now you're sneaking up into enemy territory, or you just mount yourself and get yourself ready for an enemy attack. Obviously this is better, because mounted, 75 bullets with an insanely fire rate are obviously gonna dominate every single battle. So you want a combination of both machine guns, because both of them together are making your machine gunners undefeatable. When playing Germans, of course, we can't forget the famous German SMGs or assault rifles. So we also absolutely want to play an assault rifle squad. If you're playing completely free to play with only 3 infantry squads, yep, these are the squads you want to play. You also want to have the APC, obviously. So which one of these squads do you not play? Very simple. I recommend to not use the flamethrowers, because machine gunners are simply too extremely strong and important. Also quite easy to use. Assaulters, even easier to use and also very important and strong. Also better on the attack than machine gunners. But flamethrowers, well, although being in theory the strongest squad, at least in close quarter combat, they're not that easy to use in many situations. They won't be that effective. And just having these two is safer overall. And the APC is simply more important and more comfortable to use. Very often you just want to drive around and get to a point and make sure you keep up the spawn pressure, which is a much more relaxed and comfortable playstyle than constantly rushing with infantry. So simply for that reason alone, I would play an APC above the Flamethrower Squad. So yeah, this is the configuration you would want to play if you only have 3 infantry squads. Now for the Assaulter Squad, what are the reasons to play that? Well, besides Assaulter Force being the highest perked soldier class in the game, and absolutely being worth it, because, yep, you get all the... Keep in mind, not only do you get access to some overpowered perk combinations, you also get passive abilities. For example, the more green perks you get, the more green perk points you have, the higher your sprint speed is going to be. For example, 21 green points gives me plus 10 sprint speed. This is 70% or 67% of the best green perk for free. Exactly. Having lots of vitality points gives you 19% more stamina, which is also good, because this is, well, not as effective as this, but still additional stamina is very valuable, especially if you're charging around constantly. And this is also great because this gives you recoil reduction. And yes, guess what? We already get 40%, and now we get 50%. And this means that our STG with 33% literally has only 16.5 vertical recoil, which is nothing. So no wonder when we use the best German assault rifle, we barely feel any recoil. Yeah, so absolutely worth it. So yeah, the STGs, amazing. Unlike the machine guns, where you in theory don't need to grind. By the way, for example, once you unlock the MG42, which is a clear upgrade over the slow and not that reliable, also not really good. Yeah, like the horizontal recoil is annoying for the MG34. MG42 is much better. Once you have the MG42, you don't need to necessarily grind the next machine guns. Better vehicles or better assault rifles and FGs are more important. For the assault rifles though, it's not like this. Here you absolutely want to get access to the MP43. Reason for that is, well, you obviously want to make the jump from the SMGs to the assault rifles because the MKB is significantly better than the Kirali. Reason for that is, it has higher damage and it is easier to land your bullets than with the Kirali, especially in long distance. So you actually are gonna win most of your engagements at least. But it's still quite slow. And especially on short range, you can be outplayed by good players or by overpowered enemy weapons. But MP43 starts on the base rate to shoot 20% faster. And this jump from MKB to MP43 is significant. Also you get reduced vertical for free, so the additional fire rate doesn't even hurt you. I strongly recommend to get yourself the MP43s or the MKBs. Though, if you want to be very sneaky, just get yourself gold or the MKBs or the gold or the Condas, which is just better than all of them, theoretically at least. And then you save yourself the hassle. Also, if you have lots of gold orders, you can get a couple MKBs and a couple Condas, and then theoretically you can just equip them all of them. That's also possible. So yeah, you absolutely want to have the MP43. The jump to the STG isn't that high. So if you're short on grinding time, you don't necessarily need to grind the STGs. But if you have them already, they're quite good, obviously, because they're a little bit better than the MP43s. Now also you want to combine it with a secondary weapon, because once again, even though they reload quite fast, you want to have a secondary weapon for a quick weapon change during a battle to get additional free magazine, basically. And for that, well, if I didn't have the PPSHs, I would just play the Kiralis. Because this thing is perfect on mid and long range. One of the few assault rifles that are also really good in long range because the sights are just perfect. You can actually see things well, unlike with most other assault rifles. On short range though, the Kirali is actually stronger than an STG because the fire rate is insane and the damage is also really good. And as long as you have a group of enemies in front of you, the Kirali is gonna make sure all of them are dead. So these are a really good combination. But obviously, if you have those, the old Stalingrad PPSHs are similar. By the way, they are similarly good to the Kirali. They're not even that much better. They're just a bit more fun. So you absolutely want to have assaulters. They give you the ability to quickly get into points and quickly capture and kill everything. Being very mobile, very fast, and also easy to use. Also quite a good multi-purpose squad for Germans because you get the engineers and your snipers, a special class, 4 assaulters and a tank gunner with your Panzerfaust. For those who wonder why I say they are very good regarding the specialist, simply most other squads can't get the good specialist combinations that these squads can. So this is a very important reason. Now the Germans also have a special take on the normal infantry weapon, because very famously they feature the FG42. This is unlike many other weapons which are optional. For example, Tiger 2, quite optional if you already have a Tiger. Even the Tiger is quite optional if you already have a Panther. Same thing for machine guns, both are optional. Here the last one is optional, but FG42s are absolutely obligatory if you want to have high power play. Very simple. First of all, you can't really play bolt actions on high BR if you want to be on an even setting with your enemies. You also do not want to play semi-autos because they are a joke, especially for the Germans. So what do we want to do? Well, we want to have the strongest weapon in the game, which is the FG42 too. Now, here's the deal with the FG42s. The FG42s are the best semi-auto weapons in the game because they start out as a semi-auto weapon with the specialty of, well, let's take the ones I already have, with the specialty of having 20 bullets. You won't find any normal, not event or special gold order weapon that's semi-auto in the game with 20 bullets. This is already insanely good. This is already way above the rate. Also, you get an extremely high fire rate for not only semi-auto, but you can also set them to full auto. And this is what puts them above the threshold for very strong weapon. Because on long range, you can easily deal with huge amounts of enemies. That's why it's also so easily convertible to a sniper rifle. But on short range, you can just spray enemies away. And this fire rate is higher than the German assault rifle STG fire rate. So on short, and the damage is twice as high on mid-range. So this thing on short range is better than the assault rifle. like people, if a group of enemies is close in front of you, they're just all gonna be dead. There's no way to survive a full spraying FG42. So this weapon is not only very stylish, especially if you look at the history of the weapon, and also the history after World War II, because this weapon design inspired many weapons around the world. Also the Americans stole many concepts from the FG42 to instantly use in the Vietnam War. But this is not even where it stops, because if you think this is strong, guess what? This isn't even, I wouldn't say, no one would say the FG42-1 is the best weapon in the game. But if you go to the FG42-2, this is where the magic begins. Unlike in real life, where the second version was just an easier and cheaper build model, with a little bit of improvements in some regards, in Enlisted, the second version is an extreme improvement. Reason for that is, if you compare the recoil stats, the second version has 44.8, the first version has 53.19. Exactly. The vertical recoil is significantly less, especially relative to the high fire rate. But the horizontal recoil is basically nothing. So this is one of the easiest to spray weapons in the game. Like if you learn, and I recommend doing so, to spray this weapon on long range, you can literally spray soldiers on any distance. Like just spray them with 2 bullets, they're gonna get 23 damage and they're gonna be dead. Very easy life. Dispersion is also quite low, so yep, it's insane. It's absolutely insanely strong. This is actually the best standard weapon in the game. There are weapons that look more overpowered, like the Soviet machine guns that you get very late. Yep, though, these weapons win every duel, because they're just fast and easy to aim and reliable, and they always work. The other weapons don't always work. They all have some requirements to work. This thing instantly works, very fast to use, and just destroys enemies. Only downside is the ridiculous stingy, well, we're talking about Gaijin, magazine capacity, additional magazine amount of 2. So you get 20 bullets in your weapon, well, plus 1 bullet by now in the chamber, and 2 additional magazines. Keep in mind, in real life, the soldiers using these had 8 additional magazines as their standard equipment. But here you only get 2, and ammo pouches don't help that much either. So yeah. Now how can you use them? Very simple. Put them on every soldier, obviously on engineers. Also very recommended, because you will be forced to build ammo boxes for you and your soldiers in your squads. And of course for your teammates too. And for the soldiers who need to get 2 weapons, well, you can just give them 2 FG42s if you want. For example, here on the normal Riflemen, I have 2 FG42s. And here's the specialty with German Riflemen squads. Since you have an FG42 as the best weapon in the game, basically, having a big squad with 9 soldiers, many of them having FG42s, means that you can just use the squad and your bots are gonna do all of the killing. Yeah, it's brain dead, it's straightforward, and it's very easy, but it works. You have your big booty 9-man squad, You use one soldier. I usually start with the engineer or the sniper. I just do whatever I want with the sniper, and my soldiers in the meantime are gonna get all of the kills. And this is exactly why the German Rifleman squads are really deadly. If you want to have it completely brain dead, just give them one engineer and 8 riflemen. Give all of them FG42s. If you want to save silver, give them ammo pouches, and the bots are gonna get lots of kills by themselves. So yeah, this is a really viable strategy, especially if the enemies are rushing the point and you need a quick defense, or if you need a quick capturing power. As usual, very strong specialty of the Rifleman squad. And the last take that you need to know about the Germans is squad optimization. And here's something that possibly no one in the game knows. It's a question: are you going to give your soldiers grenade launchers or the strong weapons? Now, for those who understand math, or especially financial math, the mixing of strategies is basically always the best thing you can do. Now, how are you going to mix the rifleman with your specialist? Very simple. As in real life, every single German 10-man squad had 1 or 2 grenadiers who used grenade launcher rifles. And this is exactly what you also want to do. By the way, not only the Germans did it, because this is obviously an extremely good strategy. So you always want, in every single of your squads, have access to a rifleman with a grenade launcher, because these things are just very good. And if there is a situation where you see a group of enemies close, which means the enemy plays bad, because you always have to spread out as in real life, no soldiers are sitting tight together in a battlefield area while being under attack. And this is the most stupid thing you can do, and these players deserve to be blown up, because, come on, this is a war game. You have to behave like you're in a war, not like you're watching SpongeBob with your Zoomer friends. So absolutely crucial to be able to quickly punish them. And you are very lucky playing the Germans, because they get one of the best anti-tank grenade launchers in the game. Because looking at the hidden stats that I uploaded in one of my community posts a month ago, you're gonna see that also that I uploaded in the hidden stats video, where I explained all of the hidden stats in the game for like 30 minutes. These have one of the best, possibly the best penetration value in the game. So yeah, they actually blow up enemy tanks very reliably. They're so good you can even kill IS tanks from the side. So yeah, this grenade is absolutely not to be underestimated against tanks, and they don't get any penalty against infantry, meaning they're as good against infantry as the normal grenade launchers. Even better actually, because the normal ones are bugged. These are less bugged for some reason, so ironically they are even better against infantry than the normal infantry anti-tank grenade launcher. So yeah, you always want at least one of them in your squad. For the machine gunners it's easy, you only get 1 rifleman. Well, theoretically you can have 7, but yeah, after specialists you have 1. For flamers it's also easy. You want to have 2, because you already have 5 FG42s in your squad. For assaulters, you want to play all the specialists, no riflemen. For these guys also, you already have 4, well, you have a mix of SDGs or special stuff and FG42s, and then you also want to have 2 grenade launchers. So the question only comes up actually in the Rifleman squad. And here's my optimization proposal. You want to have as many FG42s on your bots, so they kill as many people as possible by themselves, because the FG42 is one of the best weapons for bots in the game. But you also want to have, well, always access to grenade launchers whenever you need them. And my optimal number is, after trying it out and thinking about it and trying it out again, just to have 2 rifle grenade launchers. There are 2 soldiers, each having 2 grenade launchers, means you have the maximum amount of bots that are going to do the killing by themselves. And also having 2 soldiers with those is usually enough, because if you survive and blow everything up, there's literally no need to, well, you won't have any targets left. All the targets are going to be far away, and then you have to switch to a soldier with something long range. So having a third one won't really be that necessary. and you rather have just the additional bot firepower, because bots with bolt actions aren't that strong, and your bots won't use grenade launcher grenades. So yeah, this is my recommendation. Also, this order also optimized. You want to have an engineer almost always as your starting soldier. After that, your sniper, since, well, you're going to be on long distance first. And then you want to have your 2 grenade launcher soldiers, and you want to have a distinction to see how many you have, and that's why I have the assault rifle soldier in between the remaining FG42 equipped riflemen, and then I always know, alright, which one has what quickly by first glance on the class icons, and I know, alright, I have that much left and that much left and so on. So yeah, Germans overall the most balanced army with the strongest tanks in the game, also very strong planes and very good equipment in their soldiers. I would be tempted to say they have the best soldier equipment overall, but the Soviets recently started getting so much insanely ridiculous stuff that you can't say the Germans have the best soldier equipments in the game. And why that is, we're gonna find out now.